3 countries, 10 flights, 15 days, and flying for over 15,000 miles. It was my unprecedented undertaking in traveling. Fellow Toastmasters and friends, a few weeks ago I visited Thailand, Cambodia, and Singapore. But I want to let you know that I was dragged into this international trip by my cousin, Brian. The uncertainty about traveling internationally is definitely something outside my comfort zone. And because of that, I used this opportunity to write down notes as I was traveling so then I can reflect afterward. There are many things that I can share with you during these 2 weeks, but for the sake of time, I'll pick a few things to share. And I'll tell you about my reflection to the environment, the reflection to people, and the reflection to self. First of all, reflection to the environment. When I first landed in Thailand, the first thing I noticed was the extreme temperature difference compared to Rochester. This is the clear, cloudy, sunny sky. It's always sunny there, around 95 degrees, a little bit hot in Cambodia and Thailand. Singapore right now is the rainy season, so it rains every day, but it's also humid and hot as like compared to Cambodia and Thailand. I visited a Toastmaster club while I was in Singapore, and for table topic, they asked me, what am I grateful for? It was Thanksgiving theme. And I said, I was grateful and thankful for Mother Nature during the past week that I was traveling because I was blessed with such nice weather and also the beautiful natural sceneries. But I cannot let go without telling them that I was so thankful that I didn't have to be back home shoveling snow during Thanksgiving. So this is me giving my speeches, and then these are the people. And one thing I want to point out that if you guys know me well, you guys know that I'm very obsessed with durian. Durian is a fruit that is spiky at the size of a volleyball, and it's well known for its stinky smell that can travel miles and miles and last forever. And ironically, I'm sitting right here. You see that sign up there? No durian. The funny thing is I plan to go to get durian after the meeting. So everybody there must appreciate that and glad that I didn't eat before I came because my stinky breath would put everybody in coma right on their spot. So the next thing I want to talk about is the reflection to people. While I was traveling to Cambodia, visiting the Angkor Wat temple, we went with the tour group. And this is our tour guide. His name is Sai. And I have a conversation with him. And I told him all the background, that I was born in Vietnam and I came to the United States when I was 12. And he told me that I was very lucky that I get to come to the United States. And I always feel fortunate that I get to come to this country and really change my life a lot. And doing this whole traveling thing, I think even just born in America and knowing English, we really put everybody here in an advantage compared to other people. Because when I was traveling in the airport, I noticed that their signs and direction, they all have English translations. So really, just knowing English, you can travel anywhere and you can read signs, just knowing English. So it really made me wonder, other than the language thing, I also see a lot of people who working with low-paying jobs with very unstable incomes. And it made me wonder, if I wouldn't have stayed in Vietnam and never came to America, what would my life be? How much is that going to be different than today? One thing I know for sure, though, is that my future would probably not be as bright as today, and I would probably won't not have as high as education as today if I stay in Vietnam. Lastly, I want to reflect to self, about myself. This trip has really helped me to learn a lot about myself. As I mentioned in the beginning, I'm not comfortable traveling internationally, especially in a developing country. And I don't feel safe and secure. So my cousin Brian, he kind of gave me some feedback, and he said, I noticed that your body gesture is pretty weird. And I was like what? And then he said, you put your hands in your pockets as you walk, like this. And I was like, what's wrong with that? And he's like, well, do you notice that what that means for another person when you're doing this and walking? That means that you have something valuable in your pockets, and that's gonna make you a target. And to be true, I was really feeling insecure, and so that's why one of my hand was holding onto my wallet, and the other hand was feeling my cell phone. I didn't really think people was gonna rob me or anything, but I just feel more safer if my hand was there and I feel that. Another thing that he said is as I was walking, my head is kind of looking down, and normal people will look straight as they walk. And then I said, yeah, that's probably because I didn't feel safe walking in this uneven ground, or maybe there's trash on the floor, and there might even be beggars that are sitting low, and I don't want to step onto anybody because of all these uncertainties. That is how I behave that way, and I did not know that until he pointed out to me. So it's really kind of fun to kind of see how I behave differently in different environments. So as you can see, upon reflecting to the environment, the people, and on myself, I have gained a lot of valuable knowledge from this trip. There are many more things I didn't have a chance to share, but you know that there's really a lot of things that I can reflect on. There's no doubt that traveling can be very exhausting and even more tiring sometimes than coming to work. But I'm glad I did it because it's kind of fun to brace up my mettle, to step out my comfort zone sometimes in order to grow. So finally, I just want to share some photos of my trip with you before I end my speech. Like I said, my durian obsession. This is all the durian, the spiky fruit, and that's me with the durian. And I found that in Thailand, fresh, not frozen. And then I found more in Singapore because this is right after the Toastmaster meeting, by the way. So I got more. They are actually banned on the train, so I had to eat the whole thing. And I planned to have buffet that night, so I was like, I'm kind of like torn that I should eat, and I couldn't eat as much for the buffet that night or what, but I ended up having to eat all of it because I'm not supposed to bring them onto the train. And I don't know if you guys watch the Netflix show that street food in Thailand. This is J5, she's cooking, and a lot of people was like taking photo and like video recording her as she was cooking in front of the fire. These restaurants, you have to get there at 9:30 in the morning to line up to be on the waiting list. They open at 1:30 p.m. and then you have to show up, and you don't know what specific time to show up. You just, whenever they call to you, you better be there. And by the time we came back around 1:30, they said it was all booked for the rest of the night, and they closed at 1:30 a.m. And so this is her signature dish, the giant crab omelet, which tastes pretty awesome. And then here's the Reclining Buddha in Thailand. This is huge. Like the feet is like all the way like this. Yeah, really high. Yeah, I couldn't even get my head in there because then it's just like cover the whole thing. And here's the Angkor Wat, is the temple in Cambodia. It is the largest religious monument in the world. In my imagination, I thought it's just one single temple, but in reality, it's like multiple temples. And you have to like drive from one temple to the next temple. So it's really big in there. Yeah. It's a lot of interesting history. And this is Singapore airport, and they have this gigantic waterfall that come off from the roof of the airport. It's very cool. And the airport have like a gigantic mall and a resort and all kind of stuff. Yeah. Singapore. And this is the Merlion. And this is what everybody does. I'm not the only person do this. Yeah. Trying to drink the water. And here's the cloud forest, the most beautiful thing that I've seen in my trip in Singapore as well. Tropical plant and flower. And then the cool thing is like they have all these skyway that you can, like the bridge, that you can actually walk at different levels. So this is the treetop level, so you walk right next to the top of the tree. And the level that I'm taking picture from is kind of even higher. So you can walk around and see all this beautiful scenery. And the food, and you guys know Anthony Bourdain, and he's kind of recommended this place, and chicken are so fragrant and delicious that I can be eating on its own. I totally agree with him. The rice is really good, and the chicken is very slippery. yeah, you can try to catch it with your chopstick and it kind of run away from you. It's very oily and it tastes really good. And here is the Toastmaster group. And I just want to say that finally, Toastmaster is always a second home to me whenever I travel. They're so much so welcoming, and this is my opportunity to kind of speak to the local people. Like I said, I'm very paranoid and I don't really trust people there. But whenever I step into Toastmaster, I trust everybody and we have so much fun. So thank you all. Oh, one more thing, actually. I want to challenge you guys with your comfort zone, and I got some durian candy.
Oh my God.
If you don't want to eat it, you can at least smell it. Thank you. Yeah, you can pass it now. You can smell